These three real horror stories were shared online by people who swear they happened. Whether you believe them or not is up to you, but one thing's for sure, they'll stay with you. My landlord swore no one had been in the attic, but the camera I hid told a different story. I moved into a cheap apartment last December. It was a little too quiet and a little too old. The kind of place where doors creak even when they're shut. The attic door was right above the hallway. It had one of those pull-down ladders, but it was sealed shut with a rusty padlock. The landlord said no one had used it in years. But every night, always around 3 a.m., I'd hear faint footsteps coming from up there, like pacing, slow, steady pacing above my bedroom. I asked him about it. He laughed and said, probably the pipes. So I bought a small motion-activated camera and placed it on top of the shelf, aimed directly at the attic door, just to prove to myself I was being paranoid. That night, I couldn't sleep. The footsteps started again. I waited until morning, heart pounding, and checked the footage. At 3:11 a.m., the attic hatch creaked open. A hand slowly reached out. Thin, pale fingers, then a face. Someone was looking down into the hallway, watching. I called the cops. They opened the attic. It was empty. No one was there, except for a mattress and a pair of shoes facing the ladder. I worked night shift security, but no one told me about the room we weren't allowed to open. Back in 2019, I worked as a night shift guard at an old factory being converted into office space. It was mostly quiet, long hallways, flickering lights, and a few random sounds that you eventually get used to. But there was one room, room 14C, that was sealed shut. Thick metal door, no key access. My supervisor told me, just log it as locked and ignore any sounds coming from it. I thought he was joking, until I started hearing the knocking. Every night, at exactly 2:47 a.m. soft knocks, then heavier ones, like someone inside was panicking. But when I got close, the sound would stop. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I used a crowbar and forced the door open. Inside was a pitch-black room with nothing but a small locker. And inside that locker was a uniform, my uniform, with a name tag that read my full name, spelled exactly right, even though I'd just joined 2 weeks ago. I quit that night. They never called to ask why. She thought her neighbor was just being noisy, until the voice started calling her name. A friend of mine moved into a new apartment last year. Small, quiet, and a little too cheap for the area. For the first few nights, she kept hearing muffled crying through the wall. She assumed it was a neighbor going through something and didn't think much of it. But the crying turned into whispering. Low, soft phrases she couldn't quite make out. Then one night, she froze. The whisper said her name. She asked around. No one on her floor had anyone living in that unit. She called the management office. They told her the unit next to hers had been vacant for 3 years. That night, as she tried to sleep with the lights on, the voice came back, clearer this time. It said, "Why did you tell on me?" Whether these stories were real or not, that's up to you. But if you've ever experienced something you can't explain, you're not alone. Let me know in the comments if any of these gave you chills. And I'll be back next week with more.